Welcome to MOTS, where we'll be applying the Manzer or Mosley-Thurlow scale of quantitative analysis of pop culture narrative through a binary system.
Or MOTS! This podcast contains spoilers, mature content, and language. Viewer discretion advised.
Hello there, and welcome back to MOTS, where we all float, and if you join us, you'll float too. And as you may have gathered, we're going to discuss 2017's It, the Stephen King adaptation. I, of course, am Scott Thurlow, here with Jane Manzer.
See, I was promised floating, but there has been no floating yet.
Not yet. And,
We've not yet begun to float.
Rich Perry.
I'm just staying here on the ground.
And Stephen Mosley.
Hey. Also, I'm here.
Indeed you are. Just like the other kid in their group. So I think he's got a funny log line for It here, so let's hear it.
It is the best Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah. It's pretty good. I like it. So let's start off with the intro by the conclusion, which is also Yui.
Okay, so It is a coming-of-age tale with these group of misfits and outcasts form a loser club. You have Billy, who is suffering from his younger brother goes missing, and his parents become very distant from that, and he feels an incredible amount of guilt in his little brother Georgie's disappearance. You have Beverly, who's a tough young woman who comes from a very broken family, and her father kind of abuses her. The next one is Ben, who's a new kid in town. He's awkward and slightly overweight, and he's trying to find friends but just can't find them. You have Richie, who is this clownish character who
he's the jackass
exactly.
Friend. Yeah.
Which you don't find much about his family life, but obviously he seeks out attention. You have Mike, who's this homeschool kid whose family owns a kind of slaughterhouse with sheep, and he's an outcast by circumstance. You have Eddie, whose actually mother kind of tricks him into being convinces him that he's sick so that he won't go out.
She induces a psychosis in him, sort of.
I imagine that the father left at some point, and she's afraid that he will too. And then the final member is Stanley, who comes from a strict Jewish upbringing, who his father's a rabbi, and is pressuring him to join the society. And so together they form a friendship and tackle their issues. Oh, and there's an evil presence in town that manifests as a clown. So yeah, that's the plot.
And they fight it. Yeah, I mean,
hilarity abounds.
I don't know.
Strangely enough, hilarity ensues.
Hilarity does abound. I don't know if it ensues from that, but there's some good stuff. Oh, for sure. So, if you're not familiar with it, it's a pretty classic Stephen King novel. And then they did an adaptation of it. Tim Curry played Pennywise the Clown back in the 90s, 1990, I believe.
TC.
Yeah, so it's, again, sort of a nostalgia thing, at least for me, for sure. And I think some of you guys here, and maybe for audiences at large. But, as we often do, when an adaptation, a new one comes out, we try to view it in the best way we can without that, in a vacuum.
Yeah.
So, I thought it was fucking great. Really well done. Paced well. This movie's about 2 and change hours, something like that, a little over 2. It didn't feel that long, really. They did a really good job with all the characters you just laid out, fleshing out their backstories, fleshing their friendships out, and so forth.
And that's really where the strength of this lies, in the fact that it's a horror movie where you actually care about almost all the players in it.
And then they figure out a plan, they figure out, what's going on, that there is an evil presence that they just refer to as it. It's going to get you, and they figure out, they're going to go fight it, and figure that they realize that they must fight it all together as a group, or else it will separate them and murder them one by one.
So this movie actually captured one of the closest I've seen to that kind of Stephen King in his era of kind of Stand By Me and It type, and then a kind of a Ray Bradbury story as well, with having this feeling of only the kids know that there's a problem going on.
Some supernatural
the town. I think it was beautifully done. And I think that goes a lot to style, but narratively wise, they take their time in this. They develop the characters, and the great thing about it is it preys upon your fears. So it's a psychologically attacks them, which further develops characters.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you get to the ending, you're really rooting for them to beat it.
Mm.
Yeah, it really. So there's been this like small resurgence of like the 80s
kind of style.
genre, I guess, of like kid horror movies.
I was gonna say it kind of was like Stranger Things, but Stranger Things was also a throwback to that stuff.
Exactly.
Which is
like
appropriate because they
Stranger
have
Things
Will from Stranger Things is
Yep.
Oh,
is,
that's right.
Richie.
Is
That's
Richie,
right.
yeah. But yeah, it has that feel to like, you know, Little Monsters or something like that.
Yeah.
Except for this is, you know, way more in
Intense,
the horror
if you will,
realm than the comedy realm. Although it's a pretty damn funny movie, actually.
Well, mostly due to Richie or the actor, the kid who played
Well,
him.
I mean, everybody has their
So,
moments.
like,
That's
plus,
true, but-
plus like the aspects of childhood that they
Yeah.
just mine hilarity.
Exactly,
from.
like it's
Yeah.
them being like
Yeah.
13, 12-year-olds.
Like the rock fight was amazing.
Yeah.
A rock fight.
They also had a subversion, and I don't want to ruin it, but it's a subversion on the 80s montage sequence.
Yes.
And it's absolutely
Genius.
hilarious. I was
I
laughing the
think
entire time.
the four of us were probably the only people
I
that
said
found
that.
it hilarious.
Yeah.
We laughed in the theater. That it was dead silent, at least at that part when we were laughing. But we agreed that it was well done. So
I feel like nobody else in that theater
they didn't get it.
knew anything about movies, man. I was like, well, this is perfect.
Well, there was a bunch of kids, anyways. But
Yeah, why were there so many kids in that movie?
I don't know. But I sort of respect the parents who took their
Well,
kids
yeah,
because this is an R-rated movie, by the way.
Yeah.
But anyways,
I don't want to focus on that too much, but I
yeah.
heard some jerk ass teenager saying that he didn't like it coming out of the theater. I wanted to turn around and
Yeah, all right.
slap him.
Take it easy,
Anyway.
grumpy old man. Or
Were
most-
you going to dress up as a clown, hide in the backseat of his car?
Yeah, scare the shit out
No,
of him.
just put that balloon in the backseat of his car.
yeah. But
Anyway, as far as the intro body conclusion go, I thought that this movie was really strong all the way throughout. It had the intro was terrifying, and the scares really just kept on coming in like all kinds of forms throughout the entire movie. Never really let up from the first scene until the last scene. Like a lot of times, you know, you'll have that fake scare in a horror movie. This scare was not fake at all,
yeah.
No.
and it
It
continued.
was pretty brutal, in fact.
It continued
awesome.
to be that terrifying or more throughout the
I
entire
honestly-
thing up until the end, and like
Yeah.
everything kept ratcheting up the tension throughout the entire movie.
I thought they were going to lose steam at some point.
Yeah,
And then I think when they got to the library with Ben, and they like subverted the hell out of that scare for me.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because it was like a little bit, it was like slow and a little bit funny.
yeah.
It's like this slight amount of humor before it turned absolutely fucking balls insane, horrifying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're right. They did
BIH as I
the
call it.
movie throughout did a good job of balancing that kind of stuff and like keeping it fresh every time. That they because like each kid sees their own like personal fear, so like it's felt different even though they're basically facing Pennywise and whatever he manifests as their fear is.
Right.
So yeah, I agree. Like it was excellent narratively done all around. I enjoyed the whole ride. I thought it was all superb, really.
So basically, this has 7 protagonists in the group of this.
Yeah.
And I understood the motivation behind every single one of the characters.
Mhm.
They had development. Perhaps you can argue that Mike and Stanley had the least amount of development.
But there was still
throughout this.
some there.
But there was
for sure.
there none of them were one dimensional.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, everything felt earned. Every challenge with Pennywise, his actions felt earned. Them recovering from his actions. It was just narratively well done for this battle of kids versus an evil clown.
Yeah.
Which
Damn
sounds
right.
really strange about me saying that, but it is
It's
really
better than it
effective.
sounds on the outset. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I don't really have too much more to say without going way into detail on everything that happens in the movie. We don't really need to do that. What I can say is that this is great from start to finish. Keeps you on the edge of your seat the whole time, and the intro body conclusion is definitely going to get a 3 from me.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Same here. I think we're all giving it 3s. All right. That'll bring us to themes with Rich. Friendship overcomes everything. I don't know what he got.
The power of friendship
Yeah.
overcomes all. I'd say it's a little bit of that, a little bit of definitely coming of age.
Yeah.
And dealing with innocence lost.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Although they all pretty much went back to normal fairly quickly after this
Well,
whole
I don't think it
ordeal.
went back to normal, but they certainly grew at least. They
It was
came
like,
of age.
Yeah, coming of it, like letting go of the past.
Yeah.
Like Bill capping his brother in the face was a perfect way of
Him confronting.
his demons and
Sure.
putting to bed his grief, and finally being able to experience it. And I guess facing your fears.
Yep.
Because by the end, when they all came together, they were absolutely fearless.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all. Like, I mean, that's sort of like King's, one of his hallmarks, I would say, is like addressing those kind of things, especially the coming of age, because it's a group of kids dealing with being kids and also an super unnatural evil force attacking their town. So I think it was all well handled, and like you said, especially because they had to sort of spread it around, like 7, 8 people even, characters. But I think there's all those things you said were in there, and I think they did a good job of devoting enough time to each of them that none of them felt rushed in any way.
And what King also likes to do is show the failure of adults in a situation like this.
Or at least their general ignorance, I guess.
Well, yeah, but like
Adults just suck ass.
Yeah.
you actually get the full gamut here with adults too absorbed within their own lives, adults projecting their fears upon their children. I actually
Adults
think
abusing children.
Yes, like that's the far extreme there, and it's a really tragic storyline. And I surprised how they didn't do it graphically, but they heavily
the implications were pretty
there.
extreme, I will say. Yes.
But I think one of the more interesting things is the main bully, his relationship with his father, who's an authority figure. He's the cop in the town, and has created a secondary monster. It's not a evil like Pennywise, but he just created out of his own son he broke him until made a rabid dog, and at authority levels, parental levels, they fail across the board, and it has to be these kids banding together, and I think it was really shown here very well.
Yep, I agree.
There's also a really interesting theme of dealing with loss throughout this. The really obvious one is
Georgie.
Georgie's loss and Billy trying to deal with that. But there's the side story of like Mike's parents dying, like right next to him basically, and Beverly and her loss of innocence, and like everybody, I don't need to go through every single one of these characters, but like everybody has that something that they have lost, or like they are dealing with, or at least trying to help their friends deal with, on whatever level they possibly can, while making as many stupid jokes as they possibly can at the same time, which I really liked as far as the theme went. And then, you guys have said a lot of the other stuff that was going on in the movie, but I think that was a big one that we would be remiss not to mention.
No, you're right. And I think, like I said, it handles them all pretty deftly. And the fact that it has to sort of juggle those things and sort of intersplice them. But I think, like I said, all of them were well addressed and well handled throughout.
Yeah. I actually like that you pointed that out, because I did just realize how many themes they did have to juggle, and they pulled it off seamlessly.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
Yeah.
So that one's around.
That's a strong one, yeah.
All right, one's for themes, and that's going to be Antagonist with you, Steve-O.
Pennywise the Dancing Clown. I don't know what I'm going to give this one. Yeah, no, Pennywise was incredibly played by Bill Skarsgård.
Mm-hmm.
Skarsgård. Sorry. He did a fantastic job, but not only him as an actor, but like every manifestation of Pennywise in his, multiple however he was trying to scare all the characters were all terrific. He was, we often talk about this, and we're like, I don't know if this character was antagonizing the main character throughout, and this movie, the entire fucking movie, you were just terrified of Pennywise, showing, even if he wasn't on screen, you're like, he's going to show up any fucking second, and it is going to be horrifying, and I don't know, it's just done really well. The director of this did one or two other movies that anybody's heard of, and the last one he did was called Mama, and I've been meaning to see this movie for years, and this makes me want to go see it even more, having seen it.
I mean, Pennywise always has been effective and still is, and perhaps even more so because of the things they could do with it. Like, the effects are great, that's probably more style. But I want to point out something like, yeah, you're sort of waiting, like, oh man, he's going to be around the corner. He's going to be in like someone's going to open a door or whatever.
Yeah.
He'll be there. But I like the effectiveness where they'd be flipping through like pictures or stuff, or like the projector thing.
You see
like,
his
he wasn't like physically there, but like it was like a lithograph drawing. One of the faces was him. Like that was really cool. That kind of stuff. So he's always like pervasively there as a menace, even if he wasn't actually there. And then he was in their face, he was even more menacing. So it was really effective. And like I said, Skarsgård did a really good job.
So I am going to compare it to the Tim Curry one.
All right.
The thing is, like, Tim Curry, when he portrayed Pennywise the Clown, it felt like an evil clown from reality. It was very effective. I loved it. But what this movie did with Pennywise was it hit the accelerator on the uncanny.
Yeah.
You had...
Steve-O's greatest fear is sneezing.
Mm-hmm.
You had... Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Uncanny.
Yeah, the uncanniness that every single... He felt like an alien.
Yes.
He felt
otherworldly.
It was the little details, like you said, with his eyes looking in different directions at some point.
Yeah.
And, like, the way he would talk to you, it wasn't sweet coming in and then slowly turns menacing. It's kind of weird. It's so weird.
It's hard to describe
it's like,
it too,
it's almost passive, and then it's all of a sudden twists to kind of feral bloodlust. And I don't know, like the thing, it's just
that's well said.
He creeped me out.
I think the confusing pattern of his speech just draws you in.
Yes.
Like you feel yourself, you feel yourself like leaning closer just to make sense of it, and that's when he attacks.
Like Georgie in the first scene of the movie.
It's like before I went into that, I was expecting Georgie to just like be like some dumb kid who just fell for stranger danger. He got pulled in, but no, like you saw like trepidation on him, where he's just like, "Hey, I should probably go." And he's like, "Oh man, what do you mean you want to go? Don't you smell the circus?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah,
it's like, you know what else said? Popcorn? Yes, I love popcorn.
Yeah,
like, I kind of like popcorn too.
pop.
Yeah, it was like perfectly like sort of subdued creepiness, like even, and like, but the menace was like seething throughout. Like it was a good balance. I'll say
it never felt real in the thing that this was a man in a clown outfit in a gutter. This always felt like it was...
As happens, like in real life, when there's a man in a clown
those gutter clowns.
in a gutter.
What's up with those gutter clowns, man?
It always felt like this was
I get what you're
a
saying,
monster that I'm dealing with, and it's always nightmarish.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in like just terrifying. It's
almost literally nightmarish. Yeah.
Strangeness quality to it. So
you're absolutely right. And I want to point out one more thing, because I believe, not comparing it per se, but in the original novel, and I think King has used like it's called like the deadlights, like the actual like evil thing, and it's just like a bunch of like weird wispy lights. If you guys noticed at the very end when they're fighting Pennywise and he opens his mouth, there's just like a bunch of lights floating in there. Like I was like, that's a cool touch.
Yeah.
So I'll have to say that.
And that's what sent Bev into her trance.
Yeah, that's right. And makes all the other kids float down there. So yeah, I mean, it's super strong one for me for antagonists. They did a really great job.
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right. Anybody else anything to add? Nope. All right, so it's on to me with protagonists. So, as Ian sort of laid out earlier, the group of 7 kids, the Losers Club, as they call themselves. And I think, I mean, we covered a lot of it, so I won't retread too much. But I think all the child actors were very good in their roles. They were believable. They had an organic friendship, I'll say. They behaved and acted like I believe 12-year-olds, like we did back when we were like 12, 13, like fuck you, like joking around, like hitting each other. But then when something serious happens, they band together, but then they have a falling out. Like it's everything that would happen, but they just did a super believable job. And as you said, the movie devoted enough time to each of them, their personal struggles, their backstories, and what they were trying to get over with, and how they helped each other along. And of course, they banded together in the end to sort of lay a beat down on Pennywise, which is pretty awesome at the end there.
It was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
Very therapeutic.
Yeah.
Good.
So every one of the characters brings something to the table, which is very effective. I also really liked the fleggling love triangle
I was waiting for you to
between
point
Billy,
that out.
Beverly, and Ben.
Yeah.
Triple B.
Mm-hmm.
They here's the thing is I personally I felt for Ben quite a bit during this. And what's weird is
I did because I was the fat kid.
I think we're all
when I was a
Now
kid.
I'm definitely Billy. Fuck you guys.
It's oddly enough in the original in Tim Curry, I felt more for Billy as a character, and I was rooting for him. But this time around,
Ben was
my audience avatar, I suppose.
I think Ben was the second best acted character of these. other than Richie. So like there were points in this where I was like, oh, that's a kid actor, and like it was never like really bad.
I see what you mean. I think
it was never really bad, but like there were points where I was like, you know, somebody who's been acting for a long time could have done this.
You know, I
better.
noticed it with Eddie, the kid who played Eddie. It was sort of like somewhat wooden.
Every once in a while, he would like go in, but they were all did a great job. I'm not trying to take anything away from it, but like Richie,
I see what you mean.
Richie was by far and away the best actor, I thought, and like you know, he's got. I don't know if I've seen any of these other kids in anything else, but he's got acting chops from Stranger Things, so that kind of prepared him for it. And you know, he's whatever. The guy that played Ben did a really good job. The guy that played Billy is probably the third. Billy or Beverly?
I think Beverly
is fantastic.
Yeah.
The emotion she had on her face during certain scenes was very complex.
Yeah,
and I have to give her a flip.
Actually, I might give Beverly second. After Richie,
her actress did a very good job as well.
She did a really good job.
Credit.
But Bill really drew me in with his stuttering.
Yeah, I mean,
I worked with a couple kids who like had a very pronounced stutter.
Yeah,
and like the way he did it was never like. It never seemed like somebody pretending.
It wasn't like a mockery of it.
Yeah,
exactly.
And I like that the movie didn't shy away from like you're a kid, you have a stutter, you're gonna get made fun of for that.
Yeah,
and like it didn't shy away from like he got made fun of by the bullies for it, but like also his friends would like fuck around with him like about it too, which is something that would definitely happen if you're a kid. And they didn't like this script feels like it didn't shy away from stuff like that. That
absolutely,
you know, kids actually do to each other, even though they're shitty, or you know, but like that's what happens, you know. That's how real life is.
Yeah, like I said, it felt organic and very believable. And
absolutely.
Yeah, that one friend that they always constantly have to tell to shut up.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I have one last point I want to make on the protagonist. And I think that the script did this well, with, in a sense, as the movie progressed. They had kind of subversions on what you thought their characters would take. So, like Richie, for instance, towards the end of the film, all right, one, I have to give it full credit that he was an annoying shit for the first third of the movie.
Yeah.
And as he was dealing with the horror, he actually became funnier.
Right.
And I think that was intentional.
Yeah, it was perfect.
It was a good parallel as
but like when he sees that missing poster and he freaks out. Like, that's such a perfect moment for that character, you know?
But he becomes, like, the heart and, in a sense, the balls of the group. That's the one who rallies everyone to take out Pennywise.
Yeah.
It's not Billy. Billy's becomes, in a sense, so wrapped in his own revenge plot that
kind of, that's what you mean.
He should be the smartest person and not wander off. But he's, in a sense, not the first to get fooled.
But he's way too, close
impulsive.
to it. Yeah, he's way too close to it.
Exactly.
So again, they're playing, and I can bring this up to different characters as they play different roles than I thought they were going to.
But they do it with each one, I think you're saying. They do a good job.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think the Losers Club is getting a 1 from us all here.
Yes.
Solid 1.
All right. And that'll be secondary, supporting characters with you, E.
So this is... If I'm going to give a 0 to anything, it's going to be supporting.
Exactly.
But I'm going to make a case for it. You have the adults in this film, and perhaps you have, in a sense, the town overall. But I think with each of the adults, although a lot of them are one-dimensional, it's creating a sense of this unreality which they're trying to build. So you have, Eddie's mother, who comes across as like this overprotective mother, but then you realize that she is manipulating her child, making him think he's sicker than he actually is. You have the cop, father of the bully, who is a monster. You have Beverly's father, who is on the level of monsters in this town.
Yeah,
it is the Pennywise is probably like the fourth morally
the fourth
evil people.
Versus the actual adults.
Pennywise is following his nature.
Yeah, Pennywise
is just
he is pure evil. He's not a human, so therefore.
Although here's what I would say: like the cop is like not a good father, but
he seems like he's a good cop, though.
Yeah, like I'm not sure he's a monster, right? Like
he fires 3 shots at his son.
Yeah, but his son's an asshole. That's true.
Because of his father, is what we're saying. Like, it's weird.
His son, he probably should have done it earlier.
I guess.
Or he probably has.
I mean, you know what?
Well, you're right. Like, obviously, his son is terrified of him, but they don't show him being that monster that his son is so scared of. Other than firing the gun that one time.
Yeah,
and,
they did a really good job of like showing how much of a monster his son was before that. So by the time he pulls a gun on him, everybody's kind of like,
go fuck yourself. Yeah.
The thing is, I can also see them. You see this guy who has to bully people, and is not just bullying people. He is like carving his name into people's flesh, like that sort of like.
And he was about to graduate on the cat murdering.
Yeah. And even his friends, because the cronies were taken aback by some of the stuff that he did.
But I think that's a grasp for he has been completely emasculated by his father.
Yeah, of course.
And it's a grasp for him to be powerful. So you're saying that the father should have done this before? No, the reason that he's
you're right.
Carving his initials into people's fleshes.
But so like, no, I mean yes. That is a factor, but that his father is not the reason he's carving his initials into people's flesh. The reason that he's doing that is he's a fucking asshole.
Pervy pharmacist as well.
Pervy pharmacist, yeah.
It's true.
In fact, there are no
good adults.
And Mike's
the
grandfather.
librarian, maybe, yeah. Even he was a little bit like, better get your shit together, like a little.
Yeah, but that's just more tough love.
I'm not saying he was bad, like a monster per se, but he was sort of abrasive. But I mean, it's
he's like trying to get this kid ready.
I get it
for like in the best way that he knows how. I mean, he's his grandfather, so he grew up in, I'm guessing, like the 40s and 50s.
Sure,
yeah.
And he spends his life shooting sheep in the head.
Yeah,
so, I mean,
more or less.
It's toughen people up.
I suppose. But you're right. Like, this was one that I was considering giving a 0 to, like, if anything. But I think, if not, like, the atmosphere itself and all the townsfolk, yes, most of them, the adults, like, sort of, again, either on purpose or just accidentally not being very responsible.
Well, I would like to pose argument for that it is influencing all of them.
Well, I believe that is the case,
yeah.
At least in the novel. So yeah, it's working to actively blind the adults and make them a little bit more darker, perhaps bring out the darkness in them more so than would normally be happening.
Let me ask you guys a question. The bully gang. Actually, I think I just answered it in my own head, but I'll say it out loud. Is there a reason for them to be in this movie?
To bring them together?
To show like they're the losers. Like I see what you mean. Like they could have probably been cut out, and would it have changed much? Maybe not really.
Here's the reason that I just thought of. They're the only reason that they met Ben.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or Will.
And
Mike.
Mike,
yeah.
I'm sorry, not Will.
I was like, who the hell is Will?
Yeah.
And Mike.
Anyway,
yeah.
They were sort of a convenient plot device for the whole group to finally like come together, the whole band, if you will,
right.
I guess. But I mean, I wouldn't have thought of it until you mention it now. But I see what you mean.
And they were as omnipresent as Pennywise was.
Yeah, they were.
It seemed like every quarter.
Do you think that they were the big good, like putting all the kids together in a place to defeat it?
I don't know.
As soon as their time was done, Henry's just like, "All right."
Belch was,
but good old Belch.
It's a tough one, but it might be enough. Just all of that stuff collectively to.
I have one more.
Okay.
One more
evidence.
He's sort of a background character, but the trombone or trumpet guy,
I guess. Yeah.
Richie.
What the fuck, dude? Yes.
I got a big laugh out of that. So
like twice. It just it went on for like a minute.
It was happening the whole time in the background when they were talking.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. I mean, I guess all the ancillary stuff adds up to a solid 1, I guess. But I was sort of wavering on this one originally.
Would you count Georgie as a secondary character?
Yes, probably.
Yeah,
so.
And I have to give a lot of credit
job.
for developing Georgie actually pretty well.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it.
And Georgie's also menacing. Like, he has a scowl on his face that, like, took me back.
Good job, little kid.
Like, 8-year-old intimidating me.
It was off-putting to him, yes. Yeah, so I'm pushed over to a solid 1.
Yeah, I'm going to
everyone as well. All right, well, nice. We'll bring us to dialogue with Rich.
I loved the dialogue in this movie. I felt it was very organic.
Spot on, yes.
Especially between all the protagonists.
Mm-hmm.
And it definitely did a good job of showing how creepy the adults were in town. Because none of them really had like except for Bill's dad and Mike's grandfather. And I guess that random meat house worker that
He was all right. He
Yeah.
was fine. Yeah.
That for some reason that bothered me though. Like when he jumped, like he like opened up the door just to see him dive out of the way of a car. And he's like, "What's wrong, Mike?"
No, he said,
like,
No, he said, "Are you okay?"
"Are you okay, Mike?"
Yeah.
He did check on him, but yeah, go on.
But yeah, like yeah, especially its dialogue too was very menacing, and I have no complaints. Do you guys have any like?
No,
I'll say this. I'm gonna give this a good score. But if you screw up the dialogue to a Stephen King adaptation, that's on you, man. Like Stephen King writes good dialogue. If there's anything he does well, he writes good dialogue.
Well, he does a number of things, but I mean, of course, I agree with that.
Yeah.
But like you said, it all felt really organic, and like the jokes, like again, not Stanley, the joking kid,
Richie.
Richie,
Yeah.
like his stuff was like spot on, like all the time. He was great comic relief, and he, as you said, he developed and grew as the tension ratcheted up and the menace ratcheted up. Like he sort of like followed a path along with it.
I love the 80s references were sprinkled out just enough to
they
not
weren't
be overbearing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'll give that, and like I guess I'll have to mention here maybe style, but the TV thing, like the faux like children's show,
that was so good.
that like it was like somehow influencing and producing, like go kill your parents, kids, go down the sewer.
That reminded me a lot of that the Puppet Pals or whatever in Aqua Teen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see what you mean. But anyways, yeah, so I'm definitely giving dialogue a very strong one. It was snappy, it was very believable, and never stilted, nothing cringeworthy, and it just worked so well together.
Yeah.
This is a movie with a lot of child actors in it. And they handle the dialogue.
And you
perfectly
know
for that.
my feelings and maybe our feelings generally about child actors, but
Secondly, and this is where the one like unique thing I'll point out that you guys didn't, was that there was a lot of dialogue references to the Tim Curry.
I noticed that a bit.
They put it in different situations than were used. So, they all float down here. It was obviously one of the most famous lines from Tim Curry's. Used differently. I mean, for the same effect, but
Sure, it was still there, but it wasn't just a copycat.
Yeah, so like they hit all the great quotes from it, but made it their own. So I'm going to give it a 1.
I definitely agree. One's all around for dialogue.
Yeah.
Goddamn right. All right, so now we'll be on to style with you, Steve-O.
This movie was super well done, really well shot, just very tense the entire time. I give the director, I forget his name. I just looked at.
Hopefully, he'll be more recognizable after this.
It's
sorry, we don't remember his name offhand, but
I give him full credit. He did a fantastic job keeping everything going on. The cinematography was wonderful.
Yep, shots look great.
Yeah, and
all the effects, like I said,
and just kind of the makeup was great. It just everything was completely at the most professional level and like really well done to achieve exactly the feeling that they wanted to in this movie. And I think they did a great job of that.
I'm assuming that they had like a solid mix of practical and CGI effects.
I think that's what it seemed to be as well.
Because
to me at least,
because the scene when Pennywise like crawls out of the fridge,
and
like re-straightens himself out, that looked real.
Yeah, I agree. However they achieved it, it looked fantastic. It always reminded me of In the Mouth of Madness, but much, much better.
Yeah.
Right.
But no, I agree. Like from the opening shot, like a nice like big wide pan from the rain and down to the street and into Georgie's and Billy's house.
And the way that they had him in the gutter, and like the shadows hit everything except his eyes and teeth.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah. So yeah, they did a great job overall. The natural looking stuff and the supernatural stuff came together, and it was top notch. So I'm giving it a 1. I think we all are.
So I just have I usually do style based on what they're attempting to do genre wise, and so this is a horror film. It's incredibly effective in building tension without relying too much on jump scares, which is one of my pet peeves.
And or subverting them a couple of times. Even.
Like, and I think it was one of the few films that was frightening without like in a kind of modern,
but not
sense.
Cheaply, we'll say.
Yeah. Without and not using the as you said, like the cheap jump scares to get that, and I have to give it full credit for that.
Yep, I agree. I think we all do. One's for style, my friends. All right, now that'll bring me to recommendation. Yes, I recommend new It. It's fucking great. It might actually be better than the nostalgia factor from the 1991 in my mind, but even if you haven't seen it, you should see this one because it was very well done. It's scary and it's effective and it's just an enjoyable movie. And I believe they are doing, at the very end of it, it was chapter 1. So, if anyone's not aware, there's a whole other section in the original where the kids as adults come back and fight it again, 20, whatever its cycle is, 27 years.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, check this one out. It's getting pretty good reviews. It's getting a good review from us, and I think deservedly so. It's damn solid and just, again, very entertaining and very well put together for what it is.
This is in my top 5 horror movies of all time.
Wow.
That was fair enough.
As bold as that statement. Shining is still
man.
number 1, but
right.
I think this is because this is not just a horror movie; it's a well constructed like story that with characters I care about, and I fully recommend this. I'm going to be there for It Part 2. I can't wait till they get it out. I loved it.
Nah.
I think it would be wise to spend your penny on this.
Whoa. Pennywise himself would like that line.
Yeah. I really enjoyed this movie. And now they're doing chapter 2, which is, 27 years later when they're all adults. And oddly enough, I probably won't say this very many times, but I'm really going to miss these kids. I'm really going to miss seeing these kids. There was really good chemistry in this movie, and if you like scary movies, check it out. It's just really good.
Yep, not much more to say. So that means it's got a perfect 10 from all of us. And I think it might be a perfect movie. Like, if there are any flaws, they're few and far between, and they're basically nitpicky ones. You can, maybe point here and there, but overall, it's goddamn good.
Yeah.
Go see it.
I'm not sure if I would give it a 10, but it would be like a 9.5 for me. Otherwise,
Fair enough.
Just on a
arbitrary other scale.
On my arbitrary number scale.
My argument for a 10 is that it's a really well done horror film in the style that, again, I like for that, like the Shining style, and then it's also a great coming of age story. Without being hokey or overly sentimental.
It's like Stand By Me and The Shining all at once.
Yes, it's the two of them combined together, and I think it's if you want to capture what Stephen King is trying to say, I think this movie came as close as you can do it visually.
Yep.
So any movie that has me caring about who gets killed, it's a solid movie.
It's got to be effective. Yeah. All right. Well, I think that'll do it. Anyone? Any final thoughts about it? Well, this has been MOTS. We have just reviewed it. I've been here with Jane Manzer.
It turns out I am floating down here.
Rich Perry.
See you back for chapter 2.
Stephen Amosi.
Watch your ass.
Yes, and I've been Scott Thurlow, and here at Lost Signals, we always realize your fears. Good night.
Editing and engineering by Scott Thurlow. Music by Christopher Morgan. Check us out on YouTube and iTunes for the shows, and on Facebook and Twitter for updates.